we begin today with laughter on our faces. Beautiful Tuesday morning right here on the Breakfast Cafe on High Impact TV. My name is Vivian Uguche, and I got my colleague looking dapper, Olumide, right here. Hi, Olumide. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine. You know, I know you. When you sleep well, I know it shows on your face. You look fatter.
Well, if you say so.
How was your night?
Not bad, not bad.
You know, they say it's not too polite to ask people how was your night, but I think it's just semantics. Is it okay? Do you feel offended if I ask you how was your night?
No.
I don't. Oh my God, the producer is saying.
What?
What
happened over there?
Absolutely. Hope you had a restful night. Thank you, producer who knows English.
How was
Thank
your
you.
night? You could have slept under the bridge, so how was your night? It wouldn't make sense. Yeah, I get that. But welcome to the Breakfast Cafe. I am Olumide Shokoya, and of course, this is where we get to do what we love to do best, that is to entertain you, inform you, and educate you. So let's start off with banters and etiquettes. We'll be right back. Very good. Welcome back. This is Banters and Etiquette, and on Banters today we will be looking at something very important. It has to do with balancing kindness with boundaries. Now, when you say balancing kindness with boundaries, you know, we live in a country whereby boundaries seem to be overstepped. People who just don't know when to give you that space. People who believe that when you are too kind or you are tagged a mumu. So but all right, let's quickly get into that. Balancing kindness with boundaries and assertiveness is a delicate dance, you know, between compassion and self-preservation. Being kind does not mean saying yes to everything, yes, and everyone. It's okay to say no when necessary. I like this part. It's okay to say no and not even have to explain yourself. You know, these days when someone asks you for something and you say no, they ask you why. And I usually say I don't have to explain my decision. No is no. Yeah, but I feel it's impolite to ask. Like if you offer someone for coffee and he says no, and you go and say why.
No, why would you ask me when I say but that's a totally different thing. For example, I need your help and you go no.
Well,
that's a totally different thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so the tonation of your no matters. Right, and it depends. Say, for example, your neighbor, his wife went into labor at midnight. They don't have a car, and you have a car, and you want to sleep because he had worked very late at night, and they come to you. Do you say no? So if they say no, you can say you're sorry. Okay, yeah. Right.
So I think that is also good. All right, so we have assertiveness. Practice assertiveness by expressing your needs and boundaries firmly yet respectively. Assertiveness is not about being aggressive, but standing up for yourself in a positive and constructive manner.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah.
Just trying to say that, okay, this is the reason why I can't do this. I think that's why there are some people who have principles, and whether you like it or not, you just have to follow them. I remember I had a childhood friend. He was well principled. He had certain things he doesn't do, and you can't change his mind. And it doesn't mean he's a bad person, but he just doesn't allow those things. Do you understand? So there are people who are like that. They are very assertive. This is what they want, and they let you know that this is what they don't want. They don't do this. Please.
And there's something you said earlier on, that sometimes when you're always kind, people take you for granted.
Yes.
It's very true. So I understand why your friend
coming back for more.
Yeah, not even coming back for more. What they wouldn't do to others, they probably would do to you because they feel you're kind, so you let some things slide. So it's good to say no sometimes, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this requires emotional intelligence, understanding your own emotions and, of course, the emotions of others. Yes, you need to really understand your emotions. You need to know what triggers you. So, in finding what triggers you, you'll be able to set boundaries. Once you know that doing certain things you do not like it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you are not too kind. If you don't like people, you know, calling you too much, you can let people know. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. And if you don't like, I had a friend, my colleague, where we were working before. He doesn't like people calling him in the morning.
Wait, anytime in the morning.
Anytime, maybe from 10 o'clock, he could pick calls. He used to tell me he doesn't pick calls. He doesn't like people coming near him in the morning. He feels that he reserves that morning to just refresh his brain, try and get himself accustomed to work and all that. So anything you bring to him, he works at the admin that time. Anything you bring to him at that time, he will not. He will tell you come back. That was his own policy, and we all understood. And we, try to adjust ourselves around him. So there are people like that who, they just have that. They understand their emotional needs, and they know that at that point, maybe at that point, he's always angry. Who knows? Maybe he's a temperament person, and when he wakes up, he's just, there's some people who wake up angry for no reason. Like that. So once you know that you wake up angry for no reason, I think it's best to, you avoid people, you try as much as possible, avoid things that would really upset you.
You center yourself.
You center yourself.
Because you see, you can only give what you have. For example, if he's not calm inside, how can he attend to you calmly?
Exactly.
So I understand your friend perfectly.
All right, so let's move on. Self-awareness, recognizing your own limits, values, and needs. Empathetic assertiveness. I like that. Empathetic. Emphasis on the empathetic. Expressing your needs while considering the feelings of others. So it's a two-way street. You're expressing your feelings, your needs, while also taking into consideration that, okay, this thing I'm saying, it would not hurt this other person in any way. So you also have to understand other people. You have to actually be a people's person. We live in a world that everybody is just, people...
all man for himself.
All man for himself.
So you see, what you just said is emotional intelligence, self-awareness, empathetic assertiveness, they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. So you have to actually understand that, okay, this person... the way I might talk to this person, he might not like it, but I also don't like what he's doing to me. So you now have to find a common ground to explain or pass that message that both of you will be okay. Now, if it's not okay and you pass the message in a way that will not accept him, then you're good to go. All right, so let's move on. Healthy communication, clearly conveying your boundaries and expectations. And lastly, boundary setting, establishing and maintaining limits to protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. I just love that. There are sometimes my friend calls me and I'm at home and they want to come over and I tell them no.
Yeah.
That's just it. There are some times that I have a couple of friends who come into town and they want to stay with me and I tell them no. It's not as if, and they feel as if I'm a bad person, but I'm not a bad person, but I just like setting boundaries. I just like it at a particular time. I just always like to have that me time for myself. And you coming in, you might not be able to adjust. I might not be able to adjust to your own lifestyle, and everything might just clash. And I value the friendship more than that.
Yeah. So and it's better to be real than hypocritical.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you don't want somebody to come and you pretend to want them to come, there's going to be a crack in the wall. I'm telling you. But in fact, that's not the last. You had said last but not least. We have more here. Assertive vulnerability. This is a mouthful. So what's that about? Being open and honest about your needs while standing up for yourself. We also have self-care, prioritizing your own physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Like we said earlier on, you cannot give what you don't have. Mental well-being is essential these days. Mindfulness, this cannot be overemphasized. Being present and aware in relationships, recognizing when to yield and when to stand firm. Olumide, this is so essential.
It is.
Recognizing when to yield and when to stand firm.
I guess that's what marriage is about.
That's what marriage is about. No, but not just marriage, though. Other relationships as well.
Yes.
But we have more, though. Authenticity, being true to yourself while respecting others. Also, we have resilience, adapting to challenges and setbacks while maintaining your boundaries and assertiveness. Adapting to challenges and setbacks while maintaining your boundaries and assertiveness. Do you know that when you have challenges and you overcome, you come out stronger on the other side? So this is what resilience is all about. Now, by embracing this balance, you cultivate these things I'm going to be reeling out. You cultivate healthy relationships built on mutual respect, emotional resilience and well-being, authentic communication and connection, empowered self-expression. I like that one. Empowered self-expression and compassionate assertiveness. Remember, balancing kindness with boundaries and assertiveness is a continuous process that requires self-reflection, growth, and practice. Sarah and I were discussing the other day that the older we get, the more we get to know ourselves.
Yes.
Right?
I discovered that the hard way.
The hard way.
Yeah, you know, because there are some certain things you like to do when you were young, and you just find out that these days you just get tired. These days I just like to sleep. And when I was in school, my dad used to force us to have a siesta to sleep in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I hated it. But these days, I find every little spare time I have just to sleep. So, you know, that's how you begin to understand your body, that, oh, those things that you thought you could do back in the day, you could go 7 to 10 hours without sleep, you can't actually do it. Now I value my sleep more than anything. I force myself to go to bed these days because I value it.
So in retrospect, you're thanking your dad for those forced siesta.
Exactly.
Well, this is where we call it wraps on this segment. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll begin to take a look at the major headlines on the national dailies. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This is the newspaper review, and this is where we get to review the newspapers on the national dailies this morning. Don't forget, you can also join us on the conversation. You can take part, or you can tell us what's happening in your area. Give us some updates. The number to call is 081-2182-0154, which will be displayed on your screen. Don't forget that we are also streaming on YouTube, Twitter, and of course on Facebook at High Impact Studios. So we begin with the Punch newspaper this morning. Let's see what the Punch newspaper has for us. It says tankers besiege depot as petrol shortage worsen. It is really worsening. We have two riders to that. It says independent outlets sell at 950 naira per liter as black market hits 1,400 naira per liter. Look at that. Second rider says many fuel trucks yet to load. NNPC not supplying enough petrol. This is coming from the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. It's really quite sad that in an oil producing state we do not have a refinery and we are still having petrol shortages. I can't wrap my head around that. I remember earlier on, one of our technical crew was saying that sometimes, you know, it's better not to think about the problems of Nigeria, not to give yourself a heart attack. But it's mind-boggling. Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and I try to solve Nigeria's problem, and I'm like, these things are easy. Why is it so hard to solve this problem? Why is it that we have a regulator, the NNPC, and yet we're having fuel shortages? We've been, at least let's not count the military rule. Let's count from 1999. Let's try and count from probably 1999 when we had the first democratically elected president. Okay, and let's start counting from that. Why couldn't we get our refinery up and running from that time till now? And billions have been earmarked into doing this, and yet we are so, I mean, I look at Qatar, I look at so many other oil producing states, and they are richly blessed. I look at Saudi Arabia, I look at Qatar, I look at how they manage their resources, how they live like kings.
Yeah. and they have foreigners working for them. But the thing about refineries is hopefully the Dangote refinery will kick off soon. And after billions have been dumped in the Port Harcourt refinery, our fingers are still crossed to see if it will kick off. But you see, this thing about the NNPC is what I don't understand. Not too long ago, in the national dailies, Mele Kyari, the NNPC chief, came out to give kudos to the military for curbing crude oil theft. He was very happy because he said because the military had jumped on the cases and that they had apprehended more thieves, that there was more crude oil now. Production had been ramped up. So why are we having scarcity?
I think we even need to know how much are we actually producing
per day?
How many million of barrels are we producing today? Then also, I know sometimes these marketers could be quite funny. They also divert fuel outside the country. They do a lot of illegal bunkering here and there and all that. But I mean, it's maybe we need to get to a stage whereby each state starts to produce their own oil and supply their state. Maybe that might be another solution to it.
Yeah, well. Right? That could be something.
I mean, so we wouldn't have to wait for petrol tankers coming from who knows where, maybe from the north or from anywhere, any long distance, to supply other states. Maybe if states start to look inwards or look at their neighboring states for fuel supply, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Because one of the riders you took was this one, many fuel trucks yet to load. That's one of the problems.
Yes.
Many fuel trucks yet to load. So they can't get to where they can supply those who are waiting for it.
I was coming to the office and I saw the queue. It's quite sad that, well, but this is, we'll keep our fingers crossed and just try and be positive about this. Moving on, just beside the masthead, we have Edo governorship poll, Opebi Kolo, I hope I got that name now, and Obaseki differ over roads and others. That's on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. INEC begins PVC distribution on Thursday. Permanent voters card. Fingers crossed. I don't know how this election will be conducted, but I want to believe, I hope that it will be better than the general elections. We've learnt our lessons. So many experts, analysts have dissected the whole general elections to see where INEC went wrong. I hope INEC was taking note, or have been taking notes, and I hope that Edo, Ondo, and any other election, off-season elections, would be the starting point of a new electoral reform.
Yeah, I mean, it's staggered election right now,
yes.
So you don't have to deploy military personnel to the 36 states and all of that. So they should have enough, what's it called, electoral officials, as well as military officials, as well as security operatives to man the polls. There's something you said, though, that you do hope that they learn from their mistakes. I hope the IREFs and the beavers function flawlessly this time.
Well, during the tribunal, INEC gave certain statement, contradicting statement. They said that INEC, they themselves can determine whether to use it or not. So it's not like it's compulsory. They must upload on the IREF. They get to decide that. It's their own prerogative. Okay. So, well, let's see whichever one. But the major thing is for the beavers to work, because in the last election, we had beavers accrediting lower than what the votes counted. At a particular state, we had about 500 accredited voters. When it was casted, the winner who won by 700,000 votes. And you wonder where that came from.
Yeah, the thing is, the more you look, the less you see.
The less you see. Just above that, I mean, just like we were saying, Tinubu panel, Dangote refinery agree. That's Tinubu panel and Dangote agree refinery. I beg your pardon, Tinubu panel and Dangote refinery agree on September petrol rollout. Fingers crossed. This time around. Last fingers crossed for the year. All right, let's move on. We have Inspector General of Police unveils 169-man squad against kidnapping and others. Brilliant innovation rather. We hope that we would get results on that. Besides that, we have opposition tackles presidency over new presidential jet. This is a story that's not going to go away. And the reason why is because how we got to this particular headline there wasn't any transparency in all of this, from how the presidential jets were seized, to getting report that the National Assembly did not approve, to asking our analysts yesterday that how is it even possible for you to go secure something with funds that was not approved from the Senate, and now we're getting this, I mean, so many pictures, videos of the presidential jet in Paris and all that, and you just wonder, is it, are we actually following the rule of law? Is the Constitution actually supreme? I think that's a topic we need to really look at.
Is the Constitution actually supreme? Yeah. I mean, there's an interesting article Bloomberg Africa released on this particular topic. It said, I thought I should quickly look at it. It said, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu travels to France for a work stay on a newly acquired private jet, sparking criticism as the West African nation endures a cost of living crisis. That's a totally different angle to the story.
It's a totally different, I mean, and it gets even really funny or intricate, because how do you now, most of the time when President Tinubu goes out, he goes to get investors. So how will you convince people to come and invest when you are driving around in a luxury presidential jet and your people are suffering? I mean, it's two contradicting stories over there. Let's quickly move on. Why I won't interfere in anti-graft agency operations. It's coming from President Bola Tinubu himself. Ogun FTZ, Chinese embassy keeps mom on controversial deal. Below that, we have NNPC post 3.3 trillion naira profit, declares 2 billion naira dividend for 2023. Good one. At least now we're getting something coming out from NNPC. That's quite a good report. Beside that, open defecation, Ogun plans Kara market relocation and mobile court. And lastly, NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress, protest as police probe Ajaero for terrorism financing.
This is a story that is shocking.
It's really shocking. You know, we talked about it. Was it on Monday or last week when they raided the NLC headquarters, and Muyiwa Adejobi came out to say that they were actually after. This is according to Muyiwa Adejobi, the first PPR, that they were after someone who rented that building, or who was a tenant of that building, and they were reaching out to NLC for certain clarifications. I think this is something, but well, we'll try and keep up with the story and see any other developing story. But that's all we have right now coming from the Punch newspaper.
Well, I've got The Guardian, and the major headline here says, States 600 billion naira row. Let me take that again. States 600 billion naira row fees, or ROW fees, stole 90 power telecoms projects. You have details of that story, page 6, The Guardian. We have this picture here of the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and the headline says, as fuel scarcity worsens, Atiku knocks Tinubu over subsidy and refinery delay. Page 3 has details of that story. You know, one of the things analysts have said was that before the removal of subsidy, one of the form of palliatives that would have worked was to have a functioning refinery before the removal of subsidy. Yeah, but let's quickly take a look at this other story here on the front page of The Guardian. It says, dollar defies fresh interventions, consolidates at 600 naira, 1,600 naira per dollar. Let me take that again. Dollar defies fresh interventions, consolidates at 1,600 naira per dollar. Page 15 has a details of that story. We also have this one here. ASU issues 21-day strike notice over unmet demands. This is serious. You also have police invite Ajaero over alleged terrorism financing. The plot thickens. Yes. This one here says the misplaced priority of state creation agitation. This is an editorial. Page 12 is where you get details of that story. Also on the front page of The Guardian, bandits kill Katsina Gov's aide, others, and abduct 29. This is very unfortunate. We also have this one here that's common on all the front pages of the dailies. It says, seized presidential jets That's a subtitle. Experts highlight strengths of Nigeria's case. Caution on contractual impunity. Yeah. And then last but not least, we have NEDC to reconstruct Adamawa Bruno Link Bridge. Find details of that, page 27. And that wraps it up for us on the front page of The Guardian.
All right, let's quickly move on to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. On the Vanguard newspaper, it says here, TSA, fresh panic as federal government demands 50% of aviation agencies' revenue. Wow, this is quite big. I'll quickly try and see how many riders I can take. Lots of damage being done to aviation. This is coming from ATSAN. Nigeria's reputation may have been battered. This is coming from an expert. We also have this one. There is need to investigate these agencies' earnings. Airport not in danger. This is coming from the Minister of Aviation himself, Festus Keyamo. Just above the masthead, we have the same story. It's on all pages of the newspaper. Police invite NLC presidents over terrorism financing and treasonable felony. They've added one more to it, treasonable felony. Now we have this one beside that, how I am winning war against corruption. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians might beg to differ, but this is coming from the number one man himself, President Tinubu.
Yeah.
Below that, we have Nigeria.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Before you go on, you said lots of Nigerians might beg to differ.
Yes.
But I think it will be remiss of us not to mention that any member of the president's kitchen cabinet that is wanted for fraud or corruption is axed. For example, the humanitarian minister.
Yes.
She's on suspension. It doesn't look like she's coming back. That's one out of a number of what the president is doing.
Well,
just to mention.
Just to mention. Yes. Below that, we have Nigeria crude sale begins October 1st. This is coming from Wale Edun himself. Below that, we have Ishese Day, which is happening in Lagos, Osun, Isheshe rather. Which is happening in Lagos, Osun, Oyo State, Ogun. Lagos, Osun, Oyo, and Ogun have declared public holiday. That's for today, Tuesday. And that's on page 14. You can get more on what the whole festival and all that is about. Below that, we have NNPC post 3.3 trillion naira net profit, declares 2.1 trillion naira dividend, and yet we still have fuel scarcity. Small wonder. And lastly, we have the sports section, page 29, PSG pull out of Osimhen race.
Before you go, we're going to go back to Osimhen's race.
Yes.
But you talked about NNPC posting this amount, and we still suffer from fuel scarcity.
Yes.
Take a close look at the front page of the Vanguard there. There's this picture. It's a pictorial representation of fuel scarcity, and the subtitle says, as petrol scarcity worsens. Now you will see people sitting on their kegs. There's a huge queue there. You see tricycles, cars.
Yes.
It's an eyesore.
It's an eyesore, and we have them posting or declaring profits and dividends, and you're wondering, well, but I think that's all we have right now, coming from the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, now, do we have more? Yes, we have more. I've got the Daily Trust major headline. Kano Gov's COS, Kwankwaso's nephew, others under probe. We have two writers to that story. Permanent Secretary Directors Algan Chair summoned. Second writer says, we won't spare anyone. Anti-Corruption Commission vows. Above the masthead, Tinubu flies to France in new presidential jet. Presidency silent on cost. Oh, am I not surprised? This other story here says, experts demand transparency as fuel subsidy back 1 year after. Now, this is a story we must really talk about eventually. Fuel subsidy is back.
If it's back,
is
that the reason why we're having petrol scarcity?
Then there's this other one here. 4 policemen killed in Enugu checkpoint attack. Well, we'll take a break. When we'll come back, we'll take a look at the other stories on the front page of the Daily Trust.
you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity, let's help you take it high.
And out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Well, if you just joined us, this is the Breakfast Cafe right here on High Impact TV. Now, this is part 2 of the newspaper review. This time around, we get a guest analyst to jump on this segment with us as we dissect the issues one after the other. And right now, we have joining us Dr. Kayode Adedayo. He is a socio-political technocrat, and it's such a pleasure to have you join us this morning, Doctor. Good morning.
Yes, as you said, I should jump into the program. I'm jumping into the program to also say that necessity is the mother of invention.
Oh my God. Dr. Kayode, you are an investigator, you're an FBI agent, I'm telling you. Good
morning. How are you today?
Very well. So please, let's quickly take a look at this story, right? Experts demand transparency as fuel subsidy returns 1 year after. So I was asking my colleague Olumide, it is back. Did they ever remove it? What's your take on this story though?
My first question to you is, who are those experts? Who are those experts? Are these the people that went on rampage in 2011 or thereabout as we got same Nigerian group, just because GEJ2 increased the pump price with how many naira today? Are they the ones that are talking about? The so-called pastors and the so-called social critics and the so-called CSO then? Are those the experts? Now the question is this. To what extent have they done their investigations to know whether truly, or rather, to first of all define what subsidy is all about? 1. 2, to also know that truly, has government been subsidizing or ripping people off with that singular word, subsidy? Where am I coming from? Where am I coming from? Subsidy. Let anybody go and find out the meaning of subsidy. It is when the landing cost of fuel, let's use PMS now, is higher than, or rather is lower. Yeah, is landing cost is higher than the amount that they are selling to the public. Landing cost is higher than the amount being sold to the public. That is cost bigger than revenue. So that means there is a shortfall there. It is that shortfall that somebody pays for that is now known as subsidy. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now the question is, has NNPC been making profits or losses since all these days?
Well,
When they have been talking about subsidy. And my investigation had shown that even at 190 naira per liter, 190 naira per liter, NNPC was making a profit of 100 naira per liter. Which is not even supposed to be, because petroleum product in Nigeria is supposed to be a socio-economic product. Even though you are supposed to make profit, there must be element of social service there, because it belongs to us. This present tense National Assembly at inception also affirmed it, that NNPC was making 100 naira per liter when it was selling for 180 naira. That is an aspect. The second aspect, there was this policy of NPC there, direct supply, direct purchase policy.
Yeah.
DSDP. Let anybody go and Google DSDP and then see whether the landing cost is supposed to be as high as what they are claiming now. Secondly, we are not even the so-called experts we are talking about. I'm not even asking some veritable questions, like where have they been keeping, or who has been keeping the revenue from other residuals from that crude oil refining? Because we are only been talking of PMS. Sometimes they will talk about AGO, not always. So, and some other derivatives from the cracking of that crude oil. Who has been keeping the revenue from it? Because they have been keeping all those things abroad. Who has been benefiting from? These are questions we have not been asking. Now, talking about subsidy remover or no remover or return, I will not count it as subsidy remover. It's all about fraud. Perpetration of fraud on we Nigerians. Because the government knows that, one, we have never been scientific in our approach to asking questions. Scientific in terms of getting raw data to support our analysis, just as I'm giving to you now. People don't investigate. People don't read. People just say, somebody said. What that person has said, have you found out whether it's the truth? How will you now be able to say your own to make it more acceptable? These are questions. So it has always been entrenchment and perpetuation of fraud on Nigerian citizens when they are talking about subsidy removal. Let me move further. I was reading somebody's submission yesterday that Obi said he was going to remove fuel subsidy. Kwakwato said he was going to remove fuel subsidy. Tinubu said he was going to remove fuel subsidy. And the article said it was going to remove fuel subsidy. I now said, now that Tinubu has removed it, why are people shouting? And I said, Mr. Man, have you ever found out how each of them were going to approach this and what they meant by removal of fuel subsidy?
Yeah.
Have you ever find out? Fuel subsidy. Who knows? knows? Because I don't want it to be as if I am speaking for someone. Who knows whether someone out there had known the politics, the fraud behind fuel subsidy? I now say, okay, I'm going to remove it. That is, by removing those things from the hands of those people that are milking us. By those people that are milking us. When you remove such, that does not mean the price of PMS will go up. It might even come down. It might even come down. Because all of them, they have different approaches they were going to use in removing this. Somebody like me now, if I become the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria today, I know what to do. I need to go back to ensure you must still be importing little by little and all that. I will ensure that I don't put an encumbrance, further encumbrance to that policy of NNPC, direct supply, direct purchase, and then ensure that other residuals from the cracking of that crude oil comes back to Nigeria, whereby everybody will have a gain out of it. So, my dear, we have to ask those experts, where are they now that Nigerians are suffering from the so-called pains, exclusion pains of fuel subsidy removal?
All right, thank you very much for that submission. Let's move your thoughts to another bigger story from The Guardian. It says, seized presidential jet. Experts highlight strengths of Nigeria's case and caution on contractual impunity. My first question is, with this whole rabble-rousing, the National Assembly saying they did not approve this presidential jet, yet we have our president with the presidential jet in all its grandeur in Paris. So me and Vivian, I asked Vivian this very germane question: is the Constitution supreme in all this? Because the president swore an oath to abide by the Constitution, and every other thing that has happened just recently, getting this fund and procuring this presidential jet, does not go in line with the Constitution. So I'd like to put it to you: is the Constitution still supreme in this country?
You see, I have been telling a lot of people that when it comes to our Constitution, the Constitution is not having as much issue as some people are putting it. Rather, those that are operating it are the problems. Those that are operating it, that is we, the people, are the problems. The same Constitution we abandoned in 1963 was taken away by the Emirates. Until today, they are using it. Now, when a president, an elected executive, either in the presidency or in the state or the chairman of a local government, because it's an elected executive, goes against the Constitution, who are supposed to check such an executive rascality? That is why we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. You can imagine the last assembly saying, Buhari is our father. Whatever he asks us to do is what we will do. Is that normal? No, is that normal? It's not normal. Does the Constitution allow you to say that? So is it the Constitution that is wrong, or the people managing it? Look at the judiciary. Look at the judiciary. We all know that, like some of them had been saying, a retired one. Now there was this retired justice in 2023, I think that, who talked about how corrupted the judiciary is presently.
Doctor, how corrupted?
There's another one that said it of recent. So when you are talking about our constitution, nothing is wrong with our constitution, but those that are operating it. I will also take you aback. I'm sorry. Let me also take you aback. But Obasanjo was proposing Nigeria or African democracy at that time. Fine that you are doing that, Baba. Good one. But how about the mindset of the people that will operate it? The mindset of the people. We will not be talking about glitches during election. When election is in progress and there is a glitch that contradicts what you have said to uphold as regards the guidelines and regulations, what are you supposed to do? You stop it.
You stop it, Doctor. Let's.
It's a lawn tennis game.
Yeah.
Listen, sorry, 1 second. I'm a lawn tennis player. When you are playing lawn tennis, you are not supposed to play in the rain. But when rain starts falling, that rain is regarded as a glitch. All you do is you stop the game after the rain, and then you have cleaned the tennis court. You continue the game.
Yeah. So what
I the constitution that you say you should not stop it.
What I hear you say is it's not the constitution but the people operating the constitution. Now we have less than 2 minutes.
Yes.
I need you to quickly take a look at this story. 1 minute please before we go. It's on the front page of the Daily Trust. Police summon Ajaero over alleged terrorism financing, and like Olumide said earlier on, treasonable felony. Ajaero, the NLC chief, under investigation. What's your take on this?
The question is this: do they have their facts? That is what we call. That's what we call criminality. Okay. That's also what we call political vindication or political whatever. That's also what we call social also. Do you understand? So these things, are you pinning it on real criminality? Or because Ajaero is a labor leader who has been seen or tagged as a problematic leader to the government? Is that why you are saying that? Because to what extent can you now accuse somebody of financing terrorism? Where are your facts and figures? You have to come up with the facts and figures for us to know. If truly Ajaero is using NLC to finance terrorism, I will not support it. But if on the other hand, is a kind of a campaign of calumny against him, then the person saying that he should be arrested must also be dealt with accordingly. But the question is, who is going to deal with it? Who is going to deal with it? Is he not saying what he's being asked to say? If the police is saying what they are being asked to say, who now deals with the police? When we later find out that it's just a mere political campaign of calumny.
All right, Dr. Adedayo. Sorry, I have to come here. We've lost track of time, and we've borrowed time. Let's
borrow some time. Let's quickly borrow some time.
We've borrowed time actually, but it's always refreshing to hear your thoughts. We will definitely take you up on this at another time. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me today. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week.
You too. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, another thing I was looking at now is with this whole NLC, this is also a dent on his image.
Whose image?
Ajaero.
Yes.
Because this is not a normal offense. This is a grave. This is very grave.
Terrorism financing.
Other countries will be looking at him.
Yeah.
Other diplomats and every other, they will be looking at him now. They'll be watching him. Their eyes are keen on this case because no country hears anything that has to do with terrorists and they turn a blind eye.
But we must know that this is just an investigation.
Yes.
He is not guilty
Yes.
until proven guilty.
Until proven guilty.
Right.
So, well,
Yes.
we would also follow up that story. But this is where we would end the newspaper review right now. Don't forget, we still have a whole lot more, so just stick around. We'll be right back.
As a child, what is most important to you is love, warmth, acceptance, and security. But as you grow, there is a paradigm shift in the way you approach life. The interest you lose in some things, you pick in other things. Sometimes, the road is smooth. Other times, it is rough. Every step of the way comes with a new hurdle to scale. You win some, you lose some. You laugh hard, you cry hard, but at the end, you look back with a fulfilling smile and say, "What a ride!" High Impact Television equips you with what you need every step of the way.
Stealthily, stealthily, stealthily.
welcome back. This is the Breakfast Cafe. And don't forget, we are streaming on social media. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on X, formerly known as Twitter, and of course, Facebook at High Impact Studios. This is where we open up the phone lines. This is where we get your opinions, your views on certain social issues. Don't forget, you can also call us 081-2182-0154. The number would also be displayed on your screen. So yeah, this is views from the net. You share your thoughts with us. We throw a question and you get your responses. It says here, what sounds like a compliment but is actually an insult? Now, the first one says, it is emotional abuse for me. There's a way my mom would talk to me. I think this is this is actually me. All right. Oh, I beg your pardon. What is the worst type of abuse? We have emotional abuse, and of course we have physical abuse. So what is the worst type of abuse? That's the question for today. I think the first one was from me. It says emotional abuse for me. Now this is me talking. There's a way my mom, let me explain. There's a way our mothers would use verbal words. Not abuse you, but would I call it advice or reprimand you, and you just
go and sit down.
Be sober.
Yeah.
Throughout that day.
That's the right word, sober.
You'd be very sober. She would narrate from your birth to your present day, everything you've done. You know, it's quite funny how our mothers do this thing. And, you know, it's for me, it's emotional abuse for me, because it takes me off balance. And I just lose concentration. I begin to question myself. And I'm questioning my existence, that am I truly the son of my mother?
Wow.
You know, and you're just sober.
Yeah.
For the whole day. It's quite interesting.
So it shakes the whole of your being.
It shakes
right?
the whole of your being.
And do you know sometimes emotional abuse is even more painful than when you beat somebody up?
Yes.
Physically.
Yes, it is. But for me, that's how it gets me. And even till today, there's some things you just tell me and it just gets me. And I just sober up.
Wow.
Our mothers are amazing.
Oh my God. Well, I have this one here. As a compassionate and empathetic individual, I believe that emotional abuse is the worst kind of abuse. Emotional abuse can be incredibly damaging, leaving deep scars that may never fully heal. Yeah. It can erode a person's sense of self-worth, confidence, and identity, making it challenging for them to form healthy relationships or trust others. Emotional abuse can also be subtle, making it difficult for victims to recognize or articulate their experiences. This is Ayomide from Lagos. This is deep. This is so deep. Remember, the question we put out was, what's the worst form of abuse? Thank you, Ayomide.
All right, this is from Damilola. Damilola from Lekki says, emotional abuse can take many forms, including manipulation, gaslighting, coercion, and constant criticism. It can be perpetrated by anyone, including romantic partners, family members, friends, or even authority figures. The impact of emotional abuse can be long-lasting, affecting a person's mental health and also well-being and overall quality of life. According to Damola from Lekki, emotional abuse is worse.
I got Queen from Great Yabate. Queen says, in Nigeria, where cultural and societal norms often emphasize respect for authority and tradition, emotional abuse can be particularly challenging to address. Victims may feel pressured to maintain the status quo, even if it means suffering in silence. However, it's essential to recognize the signs of emotional abuse and support those affected, providing them with a safe and non-judgmental space to share their experiences and heal. Physical abuse, while undoubtedly harmful, can be more visible and recognizable, allowing victims to seek help and support more easily. Emotional abuse, on the other hand, can be hidden, making it crucial for us to be aware of the signs and symptoms and to provide support and resources for those affected. This is well written,
well articulated,
well itemized, well expressed. It's just fantastic. Thank you, Queen.
All right, I got this one from Zainab. Zainab from Kano. It says, emotional abuse can be more challenging to overcome because it attacks a person's identity and sense of self. It can lead to self-doubt, low self-esteem, and a lack of confidence. I quite agree with this one. It can actually lead to low self-esteem and, of course, lack of confidence, because you begin to question your existence. You begin to question certain things you've done in the past that, at a point, you know, it becomes gaslighting. You begin to ask yourself, oh, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I complain too much. Maybe I nag too much. Maybe I'm the one that doesn't know how to control my emotions. It's quite a whole lot to take into.
In fact, what I've gained from most of these comments we've been reading is the attack of the person's self.
Yes.
You lose your self-worth. Self-esteem is gone because of emotional abuse. That's why it's so dangerous. But I've got Yinka from the UK, and Yinka says, physical abuse is more visible, but emotional abuse can be more damaging in the long run. It can affect a person's mental health, relationships, and overall well-being. Thank you, Yinka.
All right, I got this one from, this is Kofi from Ghana. It says, both physical and emotional abuse are terrible. But emotional abuse can be more insidious. It can erode a person's sense of self-worth, making them more vulnerable for further abuse. This is Kofi from Ghana.
Very true, Kofi. Well, I got Chika from Abuja. Chika says emotional abuse is worse because it's often hidden and victims may feel ashamed or embarrassed to speak out. It can also be perpetrated by those closest to us, making it harder to escape. It's true. When it's someone close to you that is emotionally abusing you,
yes,
it is much more harder.
Yeah.
Because it's even more difficult for you to speak up, right?
You know, and you know, so the question now is, how do one get rid of this emotional abuse? How do you speak out? How do you speak up? How do you begin some sort of self-cleansing?
I think we have to run this by a producer to bring a psychologist, a psychiatrist to help us answer this particular question. How do you heal from emotional abuse? It's very germane, really.
Because you know, this often sometimes leads to depression, suicide, and the rest of them. It's a whole lot. But let's move on. This is Ajibola from Ibadan. Physical abuse is the worst because it can cause permanent damages and even death. However, emotional abuse can be just as damaging as it affects can last a lifetime. So,
as its effects can last a lifetime.
Yeah. So you can't have it both ways. Both of them are, you know, quite serious and damaging.
All right, last but not least is Nneka from Jigawa. Nneka says emotional abuse is the worst kind of abuse because it attacks the victim's mind and spirit. Very well said, Nneka. She also said it can lead to anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. Wow, very well put.
Yes.
It's true.
I remember this actress, I think Empress Jama. Yes, at the point she was in a relationship which nobody knew about. And later on she came out and, you know, she made a lot of confessions of how she was in that relationship, and she didn't have control of herself, control of her social media and everything, and how this guy was able to take total control. And she gave that guy 100% submission. The guy even made away with her phones and nudes, yes, and was threatening to expose them and all that. But I think the guy was later apprehended. You know, she came out to say at that point she couldn't even tell her friends. I mean, she celebrated her birthday. The guy posted it. She said that it was even the guy who shot that video on her birthday and everything. She couldn't, and she was actually suffering inside. You know, she was trying to tell other ladies not to be like her and, you know, speak up whenever they are going through this kind of emotional abuse. I'm
glad you brought this up. So blackmail is a form of emotional abuse.
Yes, it is.
So one of the things, to answer your question, how to get rid of emotion or how to heal from emotional abuse, one of the things is to separate yourself from the abuser, from whoever is abusing you emotionally, and then be courageous enough to speak up, really, or else you die.
Also, sometimes the reason why people don't want to speak up is, especially when you're in a relationship, you begin to doubt yourself that if I leave this person, will I see someone better? Or will I even see someone? Let me just be managing this person's flaws for the meantime and pray to God that he changes.
Gosh,
That's gaslighting.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I don't know how to reply, because what if you die in the process? Remember that sometimes emotional abuse eventually leads to physical abuse.
Yes.
Which might become fatal.
Yes.
If you're dead, what's up with
I
relationships?
remember a lady who committed suicide. According to the report, she was having an argument with her lover. She was in a car, I think one of these hailing car services, and she stopped at Third
Mainland Bridge, yes.
Left the car and jumped into the
Gosh.
water. It was quite sad. So, I mean, these are some of the things. A lot of people are going through this, and I think it's, we live in a country whereby this kind of issues, we don't have necessary remedies for it. I mean, we don't have therapies, counseling, readily available. We have, but are people aware that they can seek help outside when they are having emotional abuse or physical abuse and all that? Are people aware? Maybe if you have some sort of a platform whereby you don't even have to leave your house, you can just on your phone seek help.
So like a helpline.
A helpline.
A very easy one that you can easily dial. Like say 122, you know, and someone picks up and attends to you. But the thing is, like you said, in Nigeria, people don't really take advantage of the services of psychiatrists and psychologists.
We don't.
These are the people that are able to deal with, you know, psychological problems like emotional abuse. In the West, they call them shrinks, yeah?
Yeah, they call them shrinks. But I think this is where we will draw the curtains for Views on the Net. Stay tuned, we still have a whole lot more coming up on the Breakfast Cafe. We'll be right back.
As a child, what is most important to you is love, warmth, acceptance, and security. But as you grow, there is a paradigm shift in the way you approach life. The interest you lose in some things, you pick in other things. Sometimes, the road is smooth. Other times, it is rough. Every step of the way comes with a new hurdle to scale. You win some, you lose some. You laugh hard, you cry hard, but at the end, you look back with a fulfilling smile and say, "What a ride." High Impact Television equips you with what you need every step of the way.
All right, if you just joined us, this is the Breakfast Cafe right here on High Impact TV. This segment is where we get to take a look at topical issues. And today, it's a very serious one. And this is what we are talking about right now. The role of international trade agreement in globalization. In a short while, we'll be joined by our guest analyst. But a little background to this story. International trade agreements have spurred globalization, a phenomenon characterized by the growing interdependence of the economies, cultures, and communities around the world. Now, these accords, which are basically contracts between countries, specify the regulations controlling cross-border trade in products and services. Now, these accords have sparked a global economy by lowering tariffs, removing trade barriers, and establishing uniform laws. Now, international trade agreements are essentially the cornerstone around which globalization is built. They make it easier for capital, products, and services to move freely across international borders, which promotes innovation, economic growth, and new company and consumer opportunities. Right, this is very essential, Olumide, which we shall be discussing in a short while. Now, how do international trade agreements impact the distribution of wealth, both domestically and globally? It's one of the questions I'm going to be asking my guest, who I understand has just joined us, Kayode Adedayo.
Dr. Kayode
Yes,
Adedayo.
Dr. Kayode Adedayo. He is a socio-political technocrat. We had the pleasure of having him with us earlier on the show during the newspaper review. And Doctor had asked that we borrow more time.
Yes.
Doctor, the floor is yours. I'm so glad that we have enough time for us to talk this time around. Thank you for joining us again.
Yes, it's my pleasure being with you at least for the next 20 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's hit the ground running, shall we? My first question is this: how do international trade agreements impact the distribution of wealth, both domestically and globally?
Yes, in Yoruba, let me start with a Yoruba proverb, because somebody was telling me yesterday that I like talking in proverbs. And I say yes, because Yoruba says, "Òwe lẹṣin ọ̀rọ̀, tọ́rọ̀ bá sọnù, òwe la fi ń wá." That is to say, proverbs is actually the intrinsic feature of description. When you don't have a proper and real words to explain some things, you have to conceptualize it in a proverb. And which proverb am I using this morning? Àjọjẹ ọdún bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan ò ní. Àjọjẹ ọdún bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan ò ní. That is, if we are to eat together, it won't be as sweet as if those people that are going to eat together are contributors to that particular food. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, when it comes to international trade, which involves goods and services, there is no way those involved in that bilateral agreement will enjoy it if you are not having equal participation. All right? I will give you an example. Look at the AFTA policy within Africa that was brought about a few years back. In the area that concerns aviation, to what extent do you think it will impact wealth distribution in Nigeria as against, for instance, in South Africa? South Africa has their own, they have their own aircrafts that flies Nigeria. Let's assume 3 times in a week. Do we have airline that will reciprocate? Do we have airline in Nigeria that will reciprocate? Because if you are flying into Nigeria 3 times in a week, Nigeria too must have its own aircraft that will fly into your country 3 times in a week, so that the wealth there will now be distributed between Nigeria and South Africa equally. Citizens will also enjoy from such. So when there is bilateral agreement, okay, look at Nigeria and the United Kingdom. You have British Airways. You have Virgin Atlantic. Those 2 airlines flying into Nigeria virtually every day. How many airlines do we have flying into UK? Of recent, we have the Air Peace.
Let's
and this same Air Peace,
brand names.
This same Air Peace was not allowed to be flying into London Heathrow. They were not allowed because I had the aviation minister of recent telling them that they are also going to retaliate to both Virgin Airlines and Virgin Atlantic and British Airways. if they are not allowing airpeace to fly into a particular airport. So what am I saying is this: trade bilateral agreements cannot distribute wealth as is supposed to if we are not there on equal basis. On equal basis. So also exportation of other goods. Exportation and importation of other goods. Look at what is happening to Dangote Refinery presently. See the way that is being encumbered. It is coming up with food production capacity. Why? Because some people out there said, if Dangote Refinery is being allowed, it will distort the trade in Europe. And here in Nigeria, we are not doing anything. Another aspect of this is now this: to what extent is Nigerian government assisting its private individuals to be able to access and annex two things there, to be able to access and annex the potentialities embedded in all these bilateral agreements.
Dr. Adedayo, please hold that thought.
Sorry, 1 second. No, okay. Please, 1 second, so that thought will not run away.
Okay, go ahead.
British Airways, Virgin Atlantic,
Dr.
does not belong to British government. Rather, British government has brought them in to influence their own foreign policy. So what are we doing to ensure that our foreign policy encourages the local manufacturers, the local producers, the local suppliers of goods and services to be able to access and annex the advantages embedded in all these bilateral agreements?
Thank you very much. That is where I was actually going. You mentioned something about
that means I was reading your mind.
Yes.
Am I telepathic?
Yes. You mentioned something about Dangote Refinery distorting international trade. So are we saying, or let's get this, is it that local production might be an enemy to international trade? I'm looking at it from that angle. That is it that international trade might infringe upon the rights of local production?
It is not supposed to. It is not supposed to. But it's so unfortunate that if anybody likes it, let them believe this or not. Our leadership have been conniving with international organizations to subdue our national producers. I mean, our local producers and local providers of all these goods and services. If government had decided to stand on its feet and say, listen, we now have our refinery, which is the biggest in Africa, and I think second to the largest or thereabout in the world, and decided to support Dangote Refinery with its foreign policy, all this will not have been happening. But rather, because of fraud, because of self, because of hedonistic tendencies of the leadership, they prefer to deal with them abroad as against their own. Why? It could be political, it could be economic, and it could be tribalistic. Say, who are you, Dangote? at least you are from the north now. We not allow you to do this. Who are you, Dangote? You did not support me. I'm just giving you an example here. You did not support me during my electioneering campaign. Then how do you think I will allow you to strive here? I will not allow you. I will put encumbrances. Forgetting that if Dangote refinery is being supported by our national foreign policy, the whole thing is going to boil down to our own economic emancipation as a nation. And the people will become the beneficiaries of the economies of scale that this will bring to us as a nation.
You know, Doctor, you talked about how the nation's policies do not favor local businesses. Now, take for instance a car manufacturer in Nigeria here.
Oh, bless you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up. I was saying it. There was a time. It was a people I never met Unosi Motozona before.
You know, we are trying to avoid naming brands, you know.
Please.
No, there is no who name brand. That is part of the problems we are having.
No,
we need to name brand.
No,
are they not Nigerians?
No,
they are Nigerians.
We can't.
And without mentioning brand, listen, without mentioning brands, we will not be able to get to the root of the matter. Look at Toyota products. Look at Toyota products.
Yeah, but
look at Mercedes. Look at how they are in our country.
Doctor,
are these not the products that our country have been importing for the government officials? Imagine the humongous amount of money that was used to import vehicles to Nigeria for the National Assembly members. Imagine if that money resides here, by using it to purchase vehicles produced in Nigeria. Can you imagine the multiplier effect it will have on our economy, the effect it will have on our foreign exchange, and the effect it will have on respect being given to us as a people? Leave that. Imagine again, because of our influence in Africa and ECOWAS sub-region, if government had used its foreign policy to support vehicle manufacturers in Nigeria, and then say, listen, ECOWAS, be buying from us for your government officials. Africa, be buying from us for your government official. Because listen to this, we are not being able to retaliate as regards aviation, in the area of aviation. Now here in the area of vehicle manufacturing, you to purchase, using our foreign policy to direct all of this. Can you imagine? I mean, the multiplier effect can never be overemphasized.
Yeah, I agree.
On our economy, on people's well-being, even employment. Because by so doing, such car manufacturers, they will have to expand their production capacity. All right? But listen, because like I said, underline hedonistic tendencies of our leaders, political leaders, traditional leaders, religious leaders, economic leaders, all encompassed together. They are conniving against the survival of the people that they are supposed to be leading. You know why? So that when people are not well positioned economically, they will not be able to interrogate their leadership. But it is a lie. It is a lie. We have now known as a people that if we don't get ourselves emancipated from the wicked Machiavellian clause, we will continue to remain emaciated. Nigeria has come of age. We must come out of these doldrums, either they like it or not.
All right, thank you very much. I was going to ask you how trade agreements influence development of emerging economies, but we've done that. But let me now go further to ask, do trade agreements, or how do trade agreements positively influence development of emerging economy? Positively. We've talked about the negativity here, but let's look at the positivity.
We have not been talking about the negativity. We have only been talking of why it has not been able to effectively affect emerging economy the way it's supposed to. Okay?
Yes.
Now, look at this one. Look at this one. If your station, everybody knows that your station, I'm sorry to say that, not being derogatory now, cannot be compared with that of CNN. The CNN has a wider coverage and follower than yours. If you now decide to have a collaboration with station like CNN or Fox News or BBC, that means there be a kind of agreement in terms of equipment, training, as well as spread, that is outreach to more viewers and listeners. But if training is not supposed to come up and your guy in charge is now seeing it, if he should send you or her for training, you will be challenging his authority. You now say, okay, you people, don't worry, that training money, bring it, I will send them. He will have collected that money, but instead of now sending you, he will now bring in a visa problem to it. I don't know whether you understand. Visa problem to that is you yourself will not be able to link the problem to him, but you'll be linking the problem to the embassy. Are you with me?
Yes.
Forgetting that, if you are being sent for training, you will be better equipped to be able to be more professional in service delivery. Are you with me?
Yes.
Professional in service delivery. What am I saying in essence? If Nigerian government have been using its policy to support, for instance, the local practitioners in the aviation industry, you cannot imagine the myriads of local practitioners in aviation that be plying all the international routes that we are supposed to be plying. Look at Lufthansa, comes to Nigeria every day. Tell me which airline goes to Germany as to retaliate that. Look at
Dr. Adedakari. I think that's
this one from Amsterdam.
You've mentioned enough names.
These are issues. These are issues, and the one that decides to up his own game, to be flying UK. To what I said, have you been supporting him with the policy? Even here in our airport here, on his debut flight.
Dr. Adedakari, but let's look at bilateral relationship between us and the Arab Emirates. I believe the federal government did something to sweeten or to rekindle that bilateral relationship. So I mean that's a score for us. In less than a minute.
Which score? What has the federal government done to do that? Tell me, which of our airlines travels to Emirates? Do you know how many flights Emirates normally bring down here in a day or in a week? How did they develop their own airline? Can you imagine the amount of aircraft we were having in Nigeria before? What happened to it? Because of some people's hedonistic tendencies. Did they not sell off all those aircrafts? Even where are the airlines today? Where are the airlines today? Tell me. Nigeria was among the first country, among the first countries that was having Boeing 747 in Africa in those days. In those days, Kenya Airways, South African Airways, Egypt, they always come to Nigeria.
Doctor, I'm sorry I have to cut in here, Doctor. I'm so sorry, but it's time for us to wrap up. You've been brilliant on the show, so brilliant. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being a part of the show today. So we've been talking about the role of international trade agreement in globalization, and our guest has been sociopolitical technocrat, Dr. Kayode Adedayo. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, the show continues. Stay with us.
Nothing in these fiscal measures that says that rice will be brought in through the border. Nothing has changed in the importation of rice, apart from the fact that brown rice or rice paddies will be allowed duty-free. That is the only amendment to the fiscal policies. So the extant policies on rice still remain the same. Importation through the land borders is still restricted. And of course, it is already removed from the items that could not access forex. So those who have the money, who have the forex, and if they want to import it, can still bring it. You know that periodically we still have rice imported in the ports. Some of them in smaller packages, in packets, in those processed rice. They still come into the country. It's not under import prohibition as yet.
Welcome back. The video you just watched is a clarification from the Nigerian Customs Service on rice importation through Nigerian land borders. Now, the Nigerian Customs Service, NCS, has confirmed that the new fiscal measures on food importation apply only on paddy rice, while the federal government maintains its strict restriction on rice importation through land borders. Now, the Controller General himself, NCS, as Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, made this clarification during a press conference in a routine inspection at the Apapa port. Now, he said nothing new or nothing in the newly approved fiscal measures include rice importation, which means we need to take note, adding that the prohibition of rice still remains the same. Now, he, however, of course, stated that some variety of rice is still being imported into the country for those who have access to foreign exchange to import it. So, I mean, the rice is still not being allowed through the borders. So, I mean, it's just a mere clarification to let people know that, they've not lifted any ban on the importation of rice. But
if you take a look at this further, you know that this particular video aligns perfectly with the topic we just treated, the role of international trade agreement, the trade agreement between Nigeria and neighboring countries is very important when it comes to issue like this. Now, but digging deeper, since the importation of rice is still banned, what does that mean for our local farmers? It's an opportunity for them to ramp up production and also sell to the Nigerian public at a subsidized price.
I was getting to that point, that why is it still that rice is being sold for 80,000? Is it that it even costs more to produce it locally or lesser to import it? I mean, it's something the federal government needs to unravel. through any other means. I mean, I'm glad that the military, they've rolled out troops into the forest, they've rolled out troops into the northern part of the state to secure the farmlands and all that. So I believe in the coming months, hopefully by October, we should have rice
surplus.
30,000 naira.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know, this is where it will be important for state governors to look inwards. Take a look at collaborations. Remember Lake Rice?
Yes.
Under former governor of Lagos State,
Yes.
Ambode Akinwumi. Ambode?
Yes.
It was a collaboration between Lagos and Kebbi State, where the Kebbi State is a huge producer of rice.
Yes.
So the two states came together, massive production, and sold at very subsidized rates. I know I benefited from that when it happened. I'm not sure it's still happening, but these examples of, you know, collaboration between states like this can help production of rice in Nigeria, so that when, I mean, there's a ban on importation of rice, it doesn't affect Nigerians. Yeah, we have comments. I look forward to these comments. Let's find out what people are saying as regards this. Oba Joshua says, please, what's the difference in shipping rice through sea and by road? It is not possible to effectively apply due diligence on any good import by road. Very deep question there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Big Man also says, how many people they import rice that's not from land border? 95% of rice we eat is from land borders. So why can't you allow that one to be free? Okay.
This is, I think, Inobogram. It says rice importation is now, rice importation now is no longer profitable. Those outside Nigeria are not collecting naira from us because of the bad exchange rate. Make honor they chop the rice. Food for thought there. Let's see if we have more comments.
But you say the local rice. Nigeria, the rice we produce in Nigeria is very nutritious. You know, I don't know if you ate it. I have eaten it. It's very nutritious, and it's delicious as well. So hey, let's do it. Do we have more? The producer is saying is that it used to jam together. I know one of the things.
Rice with stones.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things people have complained about. But it can be improved upon, right?
It can.
It is nutritious. I can testify to that.
Well, I have had some, and you know, these days when you go to the market, you always want to separate the local rice from imported rice. People still opt for imported rice, in as much as local rice too. I've eaten local rice, yes, and it tastes good, just like you rightly said.
Yeah.
But some, so basically, we need to improve on that.
Yeah.
So let's quickly take the weather for. Let's go on a short break, and while we're at 8, we'll take the weather forecast, and we'll come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It takes a whole village to get the show up and running, and yes, I'm sure that you have been educated, informed, and entertained. So a big shout out to everyone who made this a whole success. The producers, the directors, the technical crew, down to everybody who made sure we even had coffee or tea for us to take. So a big shout out to everyone, and a bigger thank you to you watching us wherever you are on all devices, your TV, your social, your mobile phones, and all that, gadgets and all that. A big thank you. But let's do this again tomorrow, same time and same station. Don't forget, you can also follow us on all our social media pages at High Impact Studios, at High Impact TV, and the Breakfast Cafe _. I am Olumide Shukoya. Good morning.
Yeah, but before we go, I'd like to apologize for not being able to bring the weather forecast to you. We'll do better tomorrow. But in case you are in Lagos, be sure to protect yourself so you don't have any surprise rainfalls like we had yesterday. Until we come your way again, please have a fantastic day ahead. I am Vivian Oguche. Bye.
Looking for a world of education and entertainment? Get ready to dive into limitless excitement on iImpact Full HD TV. MyComSat 42 degrees East. Enjoy a packed lineup of thrilling shows, sports actions, electrifying music, and so much more. High Impact TV, securing the future.
Foment, foment, foment.